Hi guys, so I have been working quite a bit these past couple of days on my book to keep me distracted. So it's been a few years since I've done an updated flip through, and I just decided, I'll go ahead and do another video. I was originally going to do flip through videos and update videos on my birthday every year, but life gets hectic and working on the Book of Shadows isn't something that I was doing continuously, at least not on my own personal book. So I decided to take a break from the update videos and just focus on, what I needed to do at hand. I was going to do this video outside because the lighting is better in natural lighting and the weather is perfect, but it's really noisy. The neighbors are super crazy. Not really crazy, but they're just busy doing their own things. And it's loud. Yeah, so I was like, nah, we're going to do this inside. So sorry about the lighting in advance because this book is big and I don't have a lot of space, which is also why I'm not currently working on selling books right now. I just don't have the time or the space to be able to do them in a proper time frame. In fact, I've had to turn some people down and tell them that I'm gonna have to give them refunds because it's just not doable right now. It's currently July of 2024. Always feel free to reach out to me to check if you're wanting me to make a book for you, because I do love making them and I'm sure I will make them in the future. I just can't do it right now at this time. So just heads up. All right, and another reason for this video is because I'm still getting a lot of questions as to the process of my book, how it's put together. So I figure it'll be another chance for me to explain all of that and hopefully answer some questions. So let's get started. Rather than go ahead and crack open the big book right now, the main book, we're going to start with this one. So what is this? This is, I showed this at the beginning of my last Book of Shadows flip through. This is my new, what I call Book of Mirrors. It's still a Book of Shadows. It's just basically not as pretty, not as put together, not as finessed as the main book is. So how my process looks is I like to, at least currently, use as much of my own writing and my own artwork. Again, sorry about the shadows, that's just going to be a problem. But I like to use as much of my own artwork and writing as I possibly can in my Book of Shadows because it's my Book of Shadows, right? So, as you can see here, I've started a Book of Spirits, which I was inspired to do so from Devin Hunter's Witch's Book of Spirits and also Jasmine Ambrosia's Book of Witch Flight. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so I'm starting this section to kind of work on and put in my Book of Shadows because I would like a more concrete, I guess, documentation of some of the spirits that I work with and how I think the spirit world looks or operates as a whole. So, as you can see here in pencil, I've kind of marked some page margins. And those are basically just telling me a rough estimate of what size the actual pages are in my actual book, because this book's pages are a little bit bigger. And I do that because basically what I'm doing is I'm making art and then I am using tracing paper, which you can kind of see some in the main book right now because I'm working on transferring this design, which is like a map kind of sort of the realms and all the things. But I sketch it, and then I'm covering it with ink, and then I'm tracing it with tracing paper, and then I'm transferring it to a page in the main book. I'm also taking notes here, so I'll be transferring these over. Obviously, like, this has some scribbles and stuff, so just, free writing and free thinking and all of that, but then I can go back and copy it over as I'm making the entry, and then it will look a little nicer. I'll go ahead and show you some other things that I'm working on. I'm still working on my zodiac pieces, so yeah, that's not finished. You'll see that in the main book, but these are some of the flash images. So if you want to kind of see what each of the signs will look like as far as the flash art goes, or the illustrations. You've seen that one before, I'm sure. So, yeah. And they're not detailed. Like, I've started, to give myself a pretty good idea of where the details will be. But I didn't want to... And that's all I've got in here so far, literally. But I didn't want to start with too much of the details, because I didn't want to stress myself out with the tracing on the tracing paper, because that can get tedious. So most of the details will go in the actual book. So with that being said, now we're at the actual book. Let's go ahead and cover the deets here. So this book is 11 by 14. This will hopefully be the last time you see this cover like this, actually. So it's a hardcover. I made this book completely from scratch a few years ago, but I've been working on this book since 2004. So some of the pages are that old. Some of the information I have in here are that old. And that's basically when I started my witchy path, or, started practicing witchcraft. So yeah, it's got some old ideas in here. Keep in mind, as we do a flip through, I am not Wiccan. I do not consider myself Wiccan right now, but I do, however, still have a lot of Wiccan entries or Wiccan information in here, because that's how I started my path, was through Wicca. So there's a lot of that in here, which throughout the years I plan on going in and making some more notes. I don't love the idea of taking information out of the book, because I believe the book should reflect me, so the book should grow with me, and that sort of thing. So yeah, the cover is also bound in a faux leather, so you can see it's got some leathery, wrinkly bits here. We've got some spine things there, ribs, or whatever you want to call them. It is inspired by the Charmed Book of Shadows, because I resonated with the Triquetra. I started my path, so I really loved the whole design of the Charmed book. Basically, I say this is probably the last time you'll see the book looking like this, because there's some damage over the years, which is just, bound to happen. Get it because it's a book, but you can see here there's some damage on where the book opens. You can kind of see where, the leather that I used was a thinner leather from Hollanders, so it's kind of split in some spots, which I liked. I like the leather. I like how it looks. But this particular leather that I'm using, I found, with as much use as I get out of the book, is not necessarily the best. It should have been, I should have double wrapped it, basically. But this is the first book that I've made like this. So of course the books that I've sold later, after making this book, I have double wrapped and stuff like that to kind of protect them a little more. But I've also, on some of the books that I have made for others, have used the thicker faux leather. I didn't use it for this book because it's a thicker material and it's harder to glue down. But I will say once it is glued down, it makes the cover thicker and a little heavier. And I miss that in this book. As you can see, the cover is kind of a little bit warped just because it's so thin. So I'll be updating that hopefully within the next year, but we'll see. I will have to do that. I'll have to take out the triquetra and remake that, but that's fine. I also, since I now live in the Pacific Northwest and I plan on staying here for the rest of my life, I want to use a darker brown for the cover. So that's just an aesthetic thing for me. So just an example of, how this book will grow and change as I do. So yeah. So we open the book. We've got some marbleized paper that's got some shine to it. I still love this paper. When I go to replace the leather, I will have to replace this paper as well. So that'll be a thing. Really quick, I want to answer one of the main questions that I get, which is how do you put the pages in the book? So my book is post bound. So you see here there are 4 posts, 1, 2, 3, 4. And there are 4 posts here that hold this book together. So I'm going to show you something that I normally don't show people. But basically, if you were to, and the books that I make are the same way, but basically you make a page, ideally you make a page, you post holes in the pages like you would for a binder, and then you use these posts, or post screws, I think they're called Chicago screws, but as you can see, there is a what do you call it? A post there. Hold on. I'm going to take this book apart. It's hard to do this with one hand, but as you can see, there's a post here, right? You see that post? Do you see it? The lighting, I know. Anyway, you can kind of see how all the pages have a hole in them, and then the post goes into the hole, and I'm going to have to use 2 hands to put this back. Okay. So, screws are not one-hand friendly, but basically you put the post through the holes in the pages, and then you put the post through the little spine flap here, and then you put the screw into the post, and it holds your pages together. So the reason why my book looks a little bit funky, right? Like, if you look, there's a lot of space there. As far as I can fit a lot more pages in this book. And there's a fold here because it's not full. It's not a full book. If you look at the book, it's kind of like a binder. So it, this end it's kind of at an angle like a binder. I could easily fix that by just making more pages, but that makes the more pages that are in this book, A, the heavier it gets, and B, the more difficult it is to work in the book. So that is why it is not full at this time. So yeah, that is how I add pages. So the reason why I chose a post-bound book is because I can add and take away as many pages as I need to as I'm working on it. And it still looks, once you open it, it still looks like it's traditionally bound. So here's the cover page, or the title page. We're just going to flip through these pages. That is a dogwood bloom. Family crest, which I plan on designing a new one since my husband and I are now married. And that's another thing is the book will, a lot of the pages on the inside will be changing, or more will be added, because there's been a lot of changes. So a lot of these pages, to begin with, some of them are handwritten, but a lot of them you'll notice are printed or printed from my personal handwriting. And that's just because my book started off a lot smaller than this. So you'll see here, this was clearly drawn by me and written by me, but it's printed, so it's a little faded or the color's a little off. And the book started off a lot smaller than this, and rather than just redo all of the pages and start from scratch, I chose to photocopy the pages that I had and print them out on the bigger pages. Some people are like, well, your book is huge. How did you print on that big a paper? Like, where did you get a printer like that? I got it from Office Depot, and it was a challenge to find it. I'm not gonna lie. Because not a lot of places carry printers that big. Also, you'll notice that because the printer was so big, some of the pages are not very crisp in color. So basically what I've been doing is I'll go over some of the stuff that was already printed. I'll go over it with pen or ink or what have you later. So like all of my Sabbath pages are printed from my drawings and stuff. So like this one, for example, it was printed already, but this one looks a little more vivid because I've gone back over it with the same color that I used and made it a little more vibrant. It stuck a little too there. That was new. Interesting. But see, you can tell here she still needs to be touched up a bit because she is not as vibrant as that. So yeah. But it was also nice because like these were cut out things from another art book and I just glued them into the page, but now they're printed on there, so they look fine. Same thing here. I had to touch it up with my original paint that I used, so it's shiny again. And of course, they'll blend in a little bit better with, me adding more handwriting and all of that. Did I redo the med bone? I did. So med bone is nice and glittery now. Or glittery, shiny. And like also some of these pages you'll see at the end of the Samhain entry here. But the printer did that. I have no idea why. But I was just like, you know what? Whatever. I'm gonna keep it. I'll just write over it. It's not really that big of an eyesore until it is. It's a problem for future Blue Night. What? These are... the book was present at my wedding, which was live streamed, so you can actually go back and see Mark or Goatfish officiating my wedding, and these are some of the documents and apparently some of the directions from the photo thing that I'm going to be writing in to that. So yeah. Not much is new here. All the new stuff I pretty much put in the back. And I do that because it's easier to work that way, and I don't have to stress about, taking up too much room or whatever. So I did all of these herb botanical things digitally. So obviously the art was done by someone else, and then I went back and just collected the art that I liked the most and labeled it and put it in. Now this section, the botanical section, or the, this, I think the printer did really, really well with the color. I think that most of these came out really, really good. And somebody asked me when I made the last flip through video as well, did I iron? Because when I print on these pages, they're already stained and completely dry. And somebody asked me if I iron them before I put them in. I did not. I just feed them to the printer one page at a time to keep it from jamming. So if that's what you plan on doing, there's that. But I really encourage you to handwrite things, because I don't know, handwriting to me, even if it doesn't look very pretty, just looks and feels better. Like, all of this is printed, and which is fine, but it just looks like a graph, you know? So it's like, doesn't have the same feel to it. And these are just names for herbs and like old names versus the newer scientific names or what have you. Yeah. I'll also notice I have a lot of empty pages, and the goal is to give some people some room to, like, later on add more, or like I can add more later on if I feel like it. This section, the symbol section, is about to get revamped, so, or have a little more added to it, I should say. As you can see, I like to throw some fun little things in every so often. You never know what you'll find. Sometimes I just put fun little quotes in, just because I vibe with them. Here's a page that I've updated since you all saw it last. I finally started to do a Kelpie entry, but the art isn't completely done. So there's that, because I'm going to touch that up. But I liked that art of the Kelpie, so I was working on that. really excited to work on this entry now that I live in the Pacific Northwest. And then that's the end of the completed part, or most of the non-working part. There's a lot, or quite a bit in the back though, that I'm going to show you, so I can show you what's changed. As a lot of you know, I've been working on my astrology pages, so this is going to show you a little bit about my process as well. So you can see here I've written in pencil. So I write everything out according to my notes, and then I go over it with my ink. So that's why that is like that. The art is the same way. I'll draw it in pencil. These are gonna get some color. So yeah, pencil, 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 pencil. Yeah, rising signs, elements and how they correspond. And this is what, sorry about the shadow. This is what the signs will look like. So the red symbols will give you kind of an idea of, you know, Taurus moon, Taurus sun, you know, that sort of thing. Gemini. Give you a good look at Gemini. And then Cancer, I think, is what you saw last. I can't remember if I had any writing for Cancer, but I've gotten quite a bit done. 4 pages now, right? So 2, 4, yeah, 4 pages. So I think I'm almost done with that entry for now. Maybe? No, I'm not. I still have about half of it to go. Right, and then there's more back here somewhere. Some of these you saw last time too, and I just haven't moved to them yet. So let me see. Yeah, here we are. Okay. So the 3 souls art has gotten some color. I've also inked the 3 souls. So I think the last time you saw the art for the 3 souls, it was still in pencil, I think. I could be wrong. And you're not going to be able to see it very well, but the writing is done in pencil. So hopefully next time you see a flip through of the book, everything for this little entry is inked out. So there's that. And that's a total of 2, 4 pages. If you include art, it's 6. Yeah. So then the sleep spell page, which was already made to disable a spell. The working candle. I'll probably blur over this because that actually shares a recipe that I don't want everybody to have. And then I am currently working on transferring this with my tracing paper. So yeah, that will be the start of that. And then I've got more pages to work on in the back of my working book, or sketchbook. So yeah, that's how that goes. I hope you enjoyed this quick little flip through and update. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And many blessings, lots of love and darkness. Bye.